Real happiness is not smiling when life is good. Real happiness is staying steady when everything inside you is tearing you down. It's the moment you are under pressure, deadlines, conflict, noise, self doubt, and you still have to choose. One calm breath, one clear thought, one right next decision, not because life is got easier, but because you got stronger. This is the real happiness looks like. You are feeling the storm, but you don't become the storm. You are breaking inside, but you don't break your people. You are uncertain, but you don't outsource your leadership. Why now? Because leaders today aren't just managing work, they are managing overwhelm. And when the inside collapses, decision speed collapses with it. We overthink, we delay, we seek approval, we avoid hard conversations, and quietly performance dies. On this International Happiness Day, we are here not here to just for the quotes, we are here for the leadership operating system. Happiness skills that create speed, clarity, calm, power, and even when life is brutal. At this, to guide us, we have Dr. Mansi Talwar, who is an impact 260K people with mindfulness and communication mastery, helping professionals rise from confidence, clarity, and culture. Before we dive into the topic, let's know about power of knowing. Let's welcome Dr. Mansi to our podcast and dive into the topic. Hi, Dr. Mansi. Good evening. Welcome to our podcast and happy International Happiness Day.
Good evening, and thank you so much for that introduction, Premji.
Yes, ma'am. A small intro about yourself, your journey, and why you wanted a special edition that we should be talking about in special about the International Day of Happiness, where we spread love. And your journey towards bringing that coach happy me is what we want to understand. Over to you, Mansi.
Thank you very much, and good evening, everyone. So, my journey over the last almost 2 decades, I've had an opportunity to work across corporate education and coaching spaces where I've consistently seen something that people are capable, but they're often unclear, overwhelmed, or second guessing themselves, especially when it comes to decisions and communication. So, introducing myself, a mindful leadership coach, a communication mentor, and the founder of Happy Me. My work really focuses on helping mid level professionals move from the space of confusion and self doubt to clarity, confidence, and more intentional leadership. And a big part of what I do is helping people understand that leadership is not just about experience or intelligence. It is about how you manage your thoughts, your emotions, your communication, especially under pressure. Because that's what ultimately shapes your decisions, your relationships, and your impact. And personally, I strongly believe that happiness is not something that we wait for. It's something that we build through small, conscious choices every single day. And that's also the philosophy of Happy Me. If you see, um, happiness needs a little extra E. That extra effort in me, happy me has MEE, a little extra effort in me to create a happier me, and that's all by my choice.
Thank you for that, Dr. Mansi. Now, when you are falling apart inside a leader, what is the first happiness skill that stops the collapse and restores clarity?
So, see, happiness skill or skills is not about smiling in every meeting or saying all is well when nothing is well. As I said, it's about clarity under pressure, emotional stability, inner safety. I mean, let's be honest, leadership today is not calm. It's deadlines, ambiguity, 27 WhatsApp messages even before breakfast. So, a leader who's internally steady can filter that noise, stay grounded, and take decisions without any drama. They're able to see it clearly and decide faster. So, I think the first one I would say undoubtedly has to be self awareness, knowing what's going inside in your head before it leaks onto your decisions. Otherwise, one bad mood and suddenly everything looks like a bad strategy. We need to have an ability to pause. Not every email needs an instant reply, especially not the one in all caps. Definitely not. So, being clear, being present. See, half of the delays in organizations are not because of the fact that people are incapable, it's because nobody understood what was actually said in a meeting. So, being present and being clear. And that's where I call it as mindful communication.
Now, I was listening to a discussion today where I had Akshay Khanna in IIMB, I think. So he was talking about how law versus justice, right? So he was talking about it. He said the biggest problem is when somebody talks, you take notes. After that, you forget what that guy spoke.
Yeah,
So I really felt because your concentration is taking notes, but not what is the context that person is giving. So
yeah,
we miss the whole structure where we don't get what exactly the person is saying.
yeah.
Now, what are the happiness skills in leadership? Practically, not physiologically, philosophically. Sorry.
So, as I said, I mean, and a beautiful example that you shared. People take notes. Similarly, when you're traveling and when you go to a certain place or any event, we're busy with our phones taking videos so that we can see that later. But we forget to be present in that very moment. So, skills, the happiness skills, first one undoubtedly will be self awareness. You need to know what is going on inside your head. If you don't know that, it will flow in a very wrong way in terms of strategy. That definitely has to be that pause, the ability to pause, the ability to think through that. Okay, one email from my boss, one email from my client, I need to respond right now. That doesn't work. Why are you giving yourself so much of pressure? Things can wait. Yes, things urgent need to be responded to, but everything is not urgent. And when we are talking or when we are even disseminating that information further down, we need to be clear. And for that, we need to be present. The notes example that you said. So we've taken down the notes, but in what context did those notes come? We will tend to forget that because we were not present in that very moment. I'm not present in this moment and I'm thinking about the future. That is why I'm doing what I'm doing right now. So understand that and then take it down. I think that will be half of the problem in any organization, of course, is because people are not understood, because people are not present. If you're present there in the meeting, you will understand what is being communicated. You will ask questions.
Brought one important point which you have said. Every mail does not need a response. So
Yes.
I was part of Wipro, and we used to have lost a lot of customers because we had diverse customers, right? So I got to understand. I'm not sure whether that person was from that or same organization or somewhere. So he has put an out of office note. Anything urgent, anything urgent or emergency, please visit the nearby hospital. Okay. Rest all can wait till I come back.
Correct.
So I recall that message all the times. We run for everything. Hurry, hurry, do get
Yes.
it done, let it fix it. Everything needs attention. We did not check that mail. So I learned one good pointer from that. This one is, when you are out of the office, you should be out of the office. When you are at a place, you should be in
Yes. That's again, as I said, be present in where you are.
there, and you should do things that are required.
I'm sorry,
Once I
Priyanshu. I
lost
think
you for a minute.
there was some network Yeah, even I lost you for a
Yeah,
minute.
yeah,
Sorry. Yeah.
yes. No problem, no problem. So, what are the top three happiness skills that directly improve decision at speed, right? Example, self-awareness, emotional regulation, mindful communication, etc. So, what do you think are the three? Are these the three things, or you have something in mind where
So,
you can say,
so I would definitely say that these are the three things. First, you need to be aware of yourself. Once you're aware, that drills down to your emotional regulation. Because if you don't know, what will you regulate, right? And once you're regulating it, you need to communicate it in a certain way. Communicate in a way that the other person understands. So these are my top three: self-awareness, emotional regulation, and mindful communication.
okay, so what is the earliest sign a leader lacks these skills? Are they the reactivity, avoidance, overthinking, or people pleasing?
Earlier signs, well, they actually show up very fast, if you ask me. Overthinking small decisions like they are life changing,
Hmm.
reacting instantly and then saying, that's not what I meant, avoiding difficult conversations and hoping that the problems will fix themselves up, trying to keep everyone happy, basically people pleasing, and ending up confusing everyone. And my favorite one is this: call for one more meeting to discuss the same thing again. Now, that's not collaboration, that is definitely decision fatigue. I mean, I often quote the happy me philosophy that happiness needs an extra E in me, and that extra effort and emotional awareness is something that we choose to bring in our decisions. That little choice that will create a ripple effect in how we think, how we decide, how the team functions. Because faster decisions don't start with speed, they start with emotional clarity.
Okay. So I think what you are saying, define happiness is equal to clarity plus emotion stability and inner safety is what we are saying. Keep it
Yes.
measurable,
Yep.
right? And fewer escalations, fewer net rework loops, and clearer priorities is what we are saying when we look at having these three pointers addressed. So now the fastest decisions don't start with speed; they start with emotional clarity, is what you are saying. And
Yes.
with that clarity, you are able to navigate situations, is what we are saying. Why do unhappy or stressed leaders make slower decisions even with experience?
See, stress doesn't just affect how you feel, it affects how you think, process, and decide. So, even highly experienced leaders under stress don't operate at their best. In fact, I sometimes say that under pressure, even a 20-year-old veteran can sound like it's their first week on the job. And that's purely because their mental bandwidth is already occupied. They are dealing with too many inputs, too many expectations, and very little clarity. So instead of deciding, they start delaying, doubting, or even over discussing. And that is where the decision fatigue kicks in. And more decisions you have to make in a stress state, the worse the decisions become.
I think what we are saying is, you can be stressed, but a calm, composed.
See, we cannot escape stress. Stress will always be there. It's how you manage,
Uh,
how you choose to show up in that situation.
no, I'll take another example here, Mansi. I was reading. This is way back where
Mm.
I read one uh, pointer where Sadhguru said is saying that in the initial days, US used to call them up and say, "We need to do a class on stress management, and you need to come and do." So he asked them, "Right, when did stress management became a management topic?" Because stress cannot be managed, so you have to
Mm.
relieve it, right? So you have to relieve, you keep it on it, and it keeps on pounding because you're not in a position to relieve. And that great example of that, holding the glass of water,
Yes.
that
Yes.
you can hold it for a minute. After 1 minute you will get into a stage where you will feel your hand numb and stuff like that.
Right.
Maybe if you hold it for a day, you may need a doctor to amputate your hand or something. That those kind of things are what stress carries, is what I think we are seeing.
Yeah.
How do cortisol, fear, and uncertainty distort judgment and increase hesitation?
See, when stress builds up, your brain shifts to what we call as threat response mode. Now, the brain is not asking what's the best decision, it's asking what's the safest decision. So you start over analyzing simple things, focusing on what could go wrong, second guessing yourself, which is great if you are avoiding danger, but not so great if you are leading a team or making business calls. Research shows that elevated cortisol levels reduce your cognitive flexibility, meaning you become less effective at evaluating options and adapting quickly. So, again, it's not the leader lacks capability, it's that their state is working against them.
Being that in that state for a very long time is going to create a lot of stress, is
Oh,
what
yeah.
we are saying,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
So what is the difference between fast decisions and rushed decisions?
So, fast decisions come from clarity,
Okay.
rushed ones from pressure and panic. A leader, a calm leader can always decide quickly because they see the situation clearly, they trust their thinking, and they will move forward.
Hmm.
But a stress leader, he will always delay endlessly. And then he'll decide quickly and let's revisit this. Must have heard that, right? We all have done that at some point in time. So, which is basically a polite way of saying, I am not fully convinced. So, I think speed is not about urgency; it's about mental clarity and confidence. And as you just asked this, it's just I'll share something I've seen very closely, and in fact, I wrote about this in LinkedIn last week as well. Two leaders received the same email, short,
Hmm.
direct, and it just said that let's discuss, not what I expected. This is the email that they got. Two leaders. The first one read it and immediately spiraled on it. Oh, kya ho gaya? What went wrong? This is bad. And then he spent his whole evening thinking about it. But the second leader, he read the same email and he replied, sure, happy to walk you through. The next day, they had that meeting had the same outcome. There was no issue, just discussion about the task. But you see how the two reacted? It was not the experience, it was the internal state of mind. They had the same experience, but they have a different internal state of mind. So, choice will always be yours. Stress does not drain your energy, it reduces your decision accuracy. And that's where the shift of by my choice is what I talk about becomes very powerful. You may not control the pressure, the stress around you, but you may choose your response. And that choice, that extra effort, creates a ripple effect in how you decide, lead, and influence your team.
I'll take another example here because there was one, I don't know, I don't recall the book which I read from, but I that struck my mind for a very long time. There are two marketing guys who are sent to Africa
Hmm.
for selling footwear.
Hmm.
So that guy goes there. First guy goes, surveys the market, and he calls up the head office and said, "What's happening? There is nobody wearing slippers here, footwear here. How do I sell footwear in this market? The first. The second guy calls, wow, wonderful. There is nobody wearing footwear.
Yeah.
It's a big market.
True.
Same situation, two different pointers, two frame of different frame of mind. So I think that's how I think we should look at when we look at it. Is more of how do we look at decision fatigue, threat response,
Yes.
show how calm leaders choose better options because faster becomes they don't see that clarity, right? So
Yeah.
that is what I know. Stress doesn't just drain your energy, what you rightly said, it steals your decision accuracy also is what we are getting it
Yeah.
now. What is decision fatigue and how does this silently kill leadership performance?
In simple words, it is what happens when your brain has too many decisions and now just wants to retire for the day. It may not be dramatic, it will be silent. You will still show up to meetings, you will still respond, you will still say, let's think about it, but your quality of thinking drops. You will either delay decisions, overcomplicate simple ones, or say yes just to move on. And that's where leadership performance starts slipping. Because leadership is not about how many decisions you make, it's about how clear and consistent those decisions are.
You're right, because when we see people not giving the right direction, uh, in one of the podcasts that we were doing, we had a HR coming in, and where we were talking about is feedback.
Hmm.
Feedback given over a long period of observing will not help.
Hmm.
But if you are giving a feedback and say, let's relook at the same situation after a week, that guy will improve and he'll try to see, rather than you piling up so many pointers only to discuss in the appraisal meeting or the final feedback session. That is going to be more of a complaining pointer rather than giving a constructive feedback. So
Right.
that's one thing that I think clarity will clear the small roadblocks immediately, and it does not carry on. So that's one thing that I thought could be a right way of saying, rather than having everything look at performance at a 1 year stage, you give performance reviews on a consistent and regular feedback. Also feedback should be given more of a constructive thing rather than having somebody saying you did not do this 1 2 3. No, you did this, you did this, this is what is the this one where we find a gap is this, so can we look at a
Hmm.
review of these few pointers. So I think that way the constructive decision making also makes it better. Now, what are the daily patterns uh, creating fatigue? Constant context switching, or unresolved conflict, or performanceism? So, or perfectionism. So, right, performance anyway is that perfectionism, right? So,
Honestly, most leaders are not tired because of work, they are tired because of how they are working. And you pointed out some of those things there, the common patterns, like constantly switching the context. 1 minute is strategy, next minute is email, then a quick call, then back to strategy. And internally my brain is like, can we please finish one thought? There are too many tabs open. So, when you're doing that, of course, it will be there, which will create fatigue. Second one, yes, unresolved conversations. Uh, that one difficult conversation you're avoiding, it just doesn't disappear. It will sit in your head like a tab you forgot to close. And eventually, you will have some 25 tabs open without any clarity. That is really a huge one, because we avoid that conversation because we are worried about conflicts there. Then you mentioned a very important one, which is perfectionism. Ooh, there was a time people used to say, I'm a perfectionist. But you know what? Spending 40 minutes deciding something that needed just 5 minutes, not because it's complex, but because you want it to be perfect. At that point, it is not excellence, it is exhaustion. And a lot of people still continue to do that.
You should not get into an exhaustion mode is what you are saying, right? So
Yeah.
what are the three micro reset leaders can do between meeting to regain clarity? Because we just spoke about, when we are talking about email, we're talking about strategy, then we are into some conflict, then again strategy and stuff like that. So how do you look at this, Mansi?
You see, I mean, honestly, you don't really need a 10-day retreat always to reset. You need 30 seconds of awareness in between meetings. I'll give you very simple things. Just pause and breathe. This is my favorite and most practical ones. You don't need any tools around you. Breath is something which is always there with you. No matter what happens, your breath is always there. So just three slow breaths. It sounds simple, but most leaders will not do it because they go from one meeting to another like it's a Netflix autoplay. They will not
Mm.
pause, not reset. If you take just three small breaths before entering another meeting, that works wonders. We Another thing, we often don't label how we are feeling, or we don't know sometimes how we are feeling. So I suggest that we always ask ourselves, what am I carrying right now? Is it frustration? Is it pressure? Is it irritation? Because if you don't name it, you will tend to carry that to your next meeting, and suddenly the next team pays for the previous meeting, which is not fair at all. And before entering to the next conversation, ask yourself just one thing: what really matters in next 20 minutes? Not five things, just one single thing. What matters for next 20 minutes? Like, I was coming to this podcast, just one thing in mind. What matters for my next 20, 30 minutes that I'm here? Just one thing. Because clarity will reduce your fatigue instantly. I mean, also strong leaders just don't manage decisions, they will reduce the unnecessary decisions. I mean, automate things that are small, standardize repeat decisions, protect your deep work time. Because if you waste your energy on trivial decisions, you won't have clarity left for the important ones. That's very there. So little extra effort, again I'll say, to pause, to notice, to reset. It seems small, but when we do it consistently, it will create that ripple effect on how you think, how you decide, how you show up as a leader. A leader who will protect their attention is the one who will move faster without any burnout.
I think what you're saying is, the first reset, what you said is breath. That is more right. And also look at a labeled emotion that we are talking about, and then one priority should be there where we
Yeah.
switch between one thing to, as you said, email strategy and stuff. Fix it to one thing we look at here. Encourage leaders to reduce decisions, automate rightly said trivial ones, protocol deep work. Because when you give some assignment, only track them rather than going and
Yeah.
following up on a micro management stuff, which is killing most of the times, is what. And leader who protects attention wins speed without burnout, is what you're saying, right? So, and uh, how does mindful communication accelerate decision making in teams?
See, simple truth:
Uh-huh.
most teams are not slow because they lack intelligence. They are slow because they lack clarity in communication. And you gave brilliant examples there. What you say, how you say, and what you don't say, this directly impacts how fast your decisions move. I mean, I've seen this repeatedly, that unclear communication will create more approvals, more follow ups, and more let's connect meetings. So decisions don't slow down in strategy rooms, they will slow down in conversations. If it was clear, you don't need to follow up, you don't need more approvals, and let's connect again. No.
When clarity is there and we are able to give a justification, you don't need approval also, is what I think is very very important now. uh, what communication behaviors slow down decisions, which we spoke just now? Unclear asks, indirect feedback, fear based messaging.
Yeah, so we should look into this. It's an unclear ask. What does that even mean? I mean, who is doing what? That one line creates three different meetings, I think.
Yeah.
And you mentioned indirect feedback. Yes, people tend to soften everything so much that the actual message gets lost. Like, somebody says, maybe we can think about improving this. Is it optional? Is it urgent? Nobody knows. So we've just softened the approach. Then you said fear based communication. Yes, because when teams are scared of saying the wrong things, they say nothing or they say very little. And that silence will basically slow down decisions more than mistakes. Overloading information, also, yes, because some leaders think more detail is more clarity. But if you overload information, it creates more confusion. So yeah, all those things that you said, definitely, those are the communication behaviors that will slow down decisions.
What behaviors speed up decisions? Clear framing, aligned text, direct request, or respectful condor?
I mean, exactly opposite of everything I just said.
Right.
You said clear framing, yes. So if you start with here's the situation, give the context and not chaos,
Hmm.
that works wonders. Then make sure everyone is solving the same problem. Half of the time teams are debating but on different versions of the problem. So yes, aligned context is very important. um, this is what I need from you by this time. Clarity, and that reduces any kind of follow ups constantly. Say what needs to be said without any drama. You don't need to be aggressive, not vague, just clear. I mean, I usually give leaders a very simple structure: context, choice, criteria, commitment. Context of what is happening, choice, what decision needs to be made, criteria, what matters for this decision, and commitment, who will do what by when. So if you follow this, you reduce half of your unnecessary meetings. I mean, and honestly, if after every meeting people are asking, so what did we decide, that was not a meeting, that was a very polite conversation. So clear words create fast decisions, confusing words create more meetings.
I, one pointer where one of my boss again used to say is don't interrupt while people are speaking. That's one pointer that I learned. And when you are heading the meeting and you've called for the meeting, let the voices talk first, then you talk. So
Yeah.
you talk the last pointer, and he used to say, uh, he practically showed me many of the meetings where I was part when he was part of that discussion. He used to sit and run meetings in such a way that he would listen to everybody. He'll take pointers. Mr. X said this, Mr. Y said, listen, 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 listen. He'll take. And he'll say for this point, and finally he will say, he will take very short notes, not that lengthy notes and stuff like that. X said this, X said this. That's all he will say,
Mm.
right? So at the end of all speaking, he'll say, is everybody done? Then he'll say, I am going to summarize what we have discussed so far and who said what. One, two, three, four, five, six. Done. So he'll say, is there anything that we need to discuss apart from these pointers?
Mm.
Then he'll speak. And he used to give us clarity in such a way that he used to say, point number one, this is a scope deviation that we have created because it is not mentioned in the contract, nor discussed in the meeting, nor discussed in any of the
Mm.
previous meetings. So that ends there. So that is closed. So then again he'll summarize, out of 6 pointers noted, three are closed, three will be given this time, and this is what we are going to get to them. The current situation is we cannot address one, we cannot address it only by next week. Second situation is this, where we will address it maybe sometime. I'll have to discuss with the team, we'll come back to you by tomorrow. He'll give the deadline also when he's going to communicate, when that will happen.
Yeah.
So that kind of communication is, and he always used to tell us, listen, half of the problem that you can solve is already solved with your team members talking on those pointers, is what you used to say. So I
Yes.
think that's one thing we had to tie that communication to a cycles, maybe an escalation
Hmm.
or a rework, give that repeatable script, context, choice, criteria, and commitment. So
Commitment.
that is where I think we have to look at clear words create faster decisions, right? And confused words create meetings, as you rightly said. Yeah, that's the point of that. Now, why does it matter for fast decisions, not just being well-being?
Why does it matter for fast decisions?
Yeah.
See, I say that it's important to have that kind of a psychological safety because it is a speed multiplier. When when your people don't feel safe, they will not tell the truth. And when the truth is missing, leaders make decisions based on assumption, the information that is half information to them, which means there will be more mistakes, which means there will be more rework, and which means there will be more let's fix this later. I mean, I've seen teams where in every meeting, everyone says, looks good. But the real feedback will come in the corridors or on WhatsApp messages later on. And by then, the decisions are already made. So now you're not deciding, you're repairing. Safety is not just about comfort, it's about accuracy and speed of information flow.
Got it. Now, how does safety reduce hiding, delays, and passive resistance? As we just spoke about, saying that if I am not able to voice my thoughts, I'm either scared or not having that voice to speak when I have an issue. So that's the point that we want. How do you reduce safety reduces hidden delays and passive resistance? So that's the point I want to understand from you, Mansi.
See, when safety is low, people will hide information.
Okay.
Not because they don't care, but because they don't want to look wrong. So risks don't get flagged early.
Hmm.
Your decisions get delayed silently because people don't disagree openly and they don't just move forward fully. You think that the decision is done, and the
Hmm.
team thinks, let's wait and watch.
Okay.
And I'm sure we've all seen that happen. That, the passive resistance kicks in because nobody says no.
Okay.
Execution slows down, deadlines will stretch, energy drops, and the leader is left wondering, why is this not moving?
Hmm.
I mean, low safety teams don't fight in meetings.
Yeah.
They'll fight in follow-ups.
Okay.
So when
Now.
people feel safe, they don't just speak more; they speak earlier, and that saves a lot of time.
Hmm. What I was trying to understand now on a different context. Now, if I have given a deadline of 7 days, right?
Hmm. Hmm.
And I have to fix the safety issues that they have, right? What are the fastest ways leaders can build safety in 7 days? Is there a framework? Is there something that we can talk about?
Very very simple, very small, visible behavior shifts that work immediately. And the first, and being a coach, I would say that coach as a leader, ask better questions. So in a meeting, if you're asking any questions, ask questions like, what are we missing, what are the risks we are ignoring? This will signal that disagreement is welcomed. I mean, you look at the shift, right? Any questions to, what risks are we ignoring, what are we missing? So they will themselves understand that, if there is a disagreement also, the leader is actually welcoming that. I would say, another thing could be respond without shutting people down. Because if somebody is challenging what you're saying and your first reaction is defensive, you've actually trained the room to stay silent the next time. Even a symbol, that's a good point. Let's explore it, build safety.
I was, when you say building safety, I was referring somewhere is, uh, you should ask questions saying that it is not doable. When somebody says it's not doable,
Mm.
it's not doable at all, or there are any options that could trigger a safety measure where he talks or tells like, I can do this, but this will take delay. I can do this, this will cost. I can do this, this could be a changer. So these are pointers I think would change, is what I feel. When you have to safety enabled truth telling, truth telling
Mm-hmm.
reduces the rework, suggest
Yeah,
simple rituals, right? So
absolutely, absolutely,
what
and
what did we miss? I think
mm,
that's one stage. My boss used to always ask, कहीं हम छोड़ रहे हैं, वी आर लीविंग समथिंग ऑन द
right,
टेबल,
right, right, right,
कहीं हम कुछ सोचे ही नहीं है क्या, डिड
right.
नॉट वी थिंक,
Mm.
ये आ रहा है तो डिड यू नॉट गेट एनी इंडिकेशंस, हम ये लैंग्वेज में सोचे हैं क्या, डिड वी थिंक इन दैट लाइन्स, नो,
Yeah.
what risks are we ignoring at the moment? Do you see any risks?
Mm-hmm.
Today it cannot be a risk, but tomorrow can it become
Could
a
be.
risk?
Right, right.
Right. So these are few things I think what I, when people feel safe, right? They speak fast, so leaders decide
Yeah, yeah.
fast. What
And
to do.
and you know what? Also, when leaders say that I got this wrong, it also
Hmm.
gives the team the permission to be honest. Otherwise, everybody is busy protecting their image instead of improving the outcomes. You know, safety is not about speaking up; it's about knowing that you've been heard. So, simple thing that So based on this input, this is what you're doing, and that example that you gave about your boss, that builds trust in the process. One simple ritual, based on that example only that you gave, I say that at the end of every meeting, ask, is there anything we are not saying aloud?
Saying.
And you will be surprised by what comes up. And again, I say that put a little extra effort to create that safety for honesty.
I've been. I'll take one more example because you are bringing up pointers where I can bring some pointers that I've faced. I will take Wipro because I've spent about 12.8 years in
Mm,
Wipro. Long journey there, and in my 29 years of experience, 12 is Wipro, 12.8, 13 years is Wipro. In that, what used to happen is we used to have these team meetings or team lunches planned, right? So every organization has. What we all team who was under me, we had decided that we will not go out for lunch.
mm,
Clear cut, no lunches, but one trip outside. So every 6 months we used to pool that money
mm,
and take that money and take out of the place itself, leave Bangalore itself,
mm,
and go out, not very far, maybe 100, 150 kilometers radius. We go there. We will not talk projects. That was clear. We will not talk projects. We will not talk escalations. We will talk about, because my team was a big team where I had diverse people, where they were network guys, security guys, compute guys, backup and storage, and all these infrastructure guys,
mm,
and everybody never used to meet also together. So
mm,
we used to bring them first. We used to go on a Friday night, so that we reach on Saturday, and Sunday evening we leave, and Sunday night we reach back. So that's how the whole structure was built. And first, in the start of this one, they used to talk, sing songs, then they reach the destination, then they will talk about each other and all those things. By end of the day, they would have come to projects without telling itself, sir, I am having a challenge here, sir, I am having this challenge here, this challenge here. Then I used to say, that guy is network, this guy is security, this guy is backup, you have everybody here, speak. And I've seen amazing results. After a small trip, I've seen so many escalations gone away just like that. And we've told customers also, sir, in 6 months I need 2 days out from their projects.
mm.
That's what I've been telling, because when you give that space, people tend to talk, and they talk more, and they come out of solutions. And what's role of a self leader in speed, especially the mid level?
Self leadership. Well, I say it's the difference between a leader who keeps things moving and the one who keeps checking, confirming, and forwarding emails. Mid level leaders are in the toughest spot. They are managing teams below and the expectations above. So they are at that level. So if they don't have internal clarity, they will default to over checking, over consulting, over explaining. Not because there is any lack of capability, but because there is lack of internal improvement. And that slows everything down because every decision needs a validation. Speed in leadership is not about authority, it's about self trust.
I agree. Now, how do confidence, boundaries, and self trust reduce over consulting and over approval seeking?
See, confidence, when you're confident, you don't need five opinions to take one decision. You may still take inputs, but you don't depend on them. Clear leaders will know what they will decide, what needs escalation, what doesn't need a meeting at all. And without boundaries, everything feels like a group discussion. So you need to have those boundaries there. And then you said self trust, right? Because that's a big one.
Yeah,
When
self.
yeah, when leaders don't trust themselves, they seek approval to feel safe, and that creates delays because now decisions are moving through layers and not clarity. I mean, I've seen leaders draft an email and then share it with three different people for feedback, then edit it, then wait, then send it the next day. And at that point, the delay is not strategic, it is hesitation.
Now, coming to the pointer that I want, what's one daily practice that builds self trust in decisions?
Mm, see, a very simple one, but this turns out quite powerful. Keep a decision journal. I mean, when I'm saying journal, I'm not saying any fancy things. I'm just saying a simple thing. At the end of the day, just write down one decision that you made, why you made it, and what you were unsure about. And why I'm saying to write it down is because once you revisit it after a few days, I mean, don't judge yourself, but observe your thinking. Because over time, you will notice that you were right more often than you actually thought. And also where the places where your thinking needs refinement, and that's how self trust builds, not by always being right but always being aware and improving. I mean, honestly, most leaders don't lack good judgment, they just don't have the patience to trust it. So self leadership is choosing to trust your thinking, to take responsibility, and to learn from it. The fastest leaders will not be reckless, they are rooted. And for you to know about that, I say you always keep that decision journal. Simple thing.
So, how do leaders handle conflict without slowing down everything?
So, first, leaders need to stop thinking conflict is a problem. That is the big one. Avoided conflict is the real problem.
Okay.
Because when conflicts are not addressed, they don't disappear, they just show up as delays or passive resistance or low energy execution. The goal is not to avoid any conflicts, it is to handle it quickly, clearly, and respectfully. I mean, I always say unresolved conflict doesn't stay in the meeting room, it travels into emails, timelines, performance reviews. So
What
fast teams, they are not conflict free teams, they are the
I think
teams that handle conflicts timely.
I think what you are saying is unresolved tensions create invisible delays in execution.
Yeah,
So that's the point.
absolutely.
What's your conflict framework for quick resolution without damaging relationship? Because when we talk about relationships, everything becomes my way of thinking, my decisions, my views
Hmm.
are not being taken care, or
Hmm.
what I told was not heard about and stuff like that, right? So how do you look quick resolution without damaging relationships?
See, I'll say first, Name the facts.
Hmm.
Here is what we discussed. Here is what was delivered. Then name its impact. Name
Hmm.
the facts, name the impact. This is delaying the project and that is affecting the team.
Okay.
And that, name the facts, name the impacts, and then agree to the next action with a timeline. So, what we are going to do next is this, and by
Hmm.
when. No vague endings. This will remove any kind of blame, any emotional escalation, unnecessary storytelling, and that brings the conversations back to clarity and action.
Wonderful. Now, I think what you are saying is simple steps: name the fact, name the impact,
Hmm.
agree next action,
Yes,
timeline,
timeline.
keep it respectful and time bound, because again you don't need to talk to the same pointer again after a few days. And
Yes.
if you are saying time bound, where do you look at that status? Are we half done? Where are we standing? What is that it is happening? Avoid conflict becomes delayed decisions, and delayed growth also is what you're saying.
Yeah.
Now, can we look at few pointers where we are on top of the hour? I'll take another two questions with you. Can
Okay.
happiness skills be taught inside organizations like any other leadership competency?
See, you've said happiness skills, right? So yes, happiness is a skill, and absolutely, honestly, it should be. It should be because, see, we already train our leaders on strategy, finance, operations, but we expect them to handle pressure, people, and conflict without any training. Happiness is also a skill, and that can be trained. It's like saying, "Here's the car. Figure out driving it under traffic on your
Condition.
own." So it's like that. So happiness skills, it's not therapy. Happiness is not a therapy. It's performance capability. It will directly impact how your leaders think, how do they communicate, and how fast they decide. And most organizations don't have a people problem, they have how people handle pressure problem. So happiness is not a perk, it's a capability that drives performance. And yes, those skills must be taught.
Now, one last question.
Mhm.
What should be the trained first: emotional regulation, communication, or resilient habits?
See, if I had to prioritize, I would start with emotional regulation,
Hmm.
because if a leader cannot manage their own reactions, no amount of communication training will work. One
Okay.
bad mood can undo one good strategy. Once they are stable internally, they need to express clearly and listen effectively. That's where mindful communication comes into picture, because most delays and conflicts actually come from that.
Hmm.
And then you build your consistency, how they sustain energy, focus, and clarity over time. So stability first, then clarity, then consistency.
Okay. All right. I think that's what we had in mind for our 1 hour session. We are on top of the hour where we want to look at a summary that I wanted to take. I have some of the comments, but I think most of the comments are coming from one. I'll take few. Okay.
Sure.
I'll show those. This is one comment that I see where is growth mindset too. They stay in growing and open to challenges mode. So never. So this is one pointer that I get, and I think there is. This is one thing which is showing up. I'm not seeing most of the chats because it's coming from YouTube somewhere. So, okay, this is one. This one that you have. Any pointers there? That one. See.
Yes. So growth mindset, they stay in a growing and open to challenges mode. I'm just trying to understand.
Yeah.
So growth mindset, see, what is growth mindset? It's the choice. It's, again, I will come back to the same thing. It's the choice that we make in every single day, how we choose to show up, right?
Mm,
If we
mm,
are
mm.
able to emotionally regulate ourselves, we will definitely work towards a growth mindset. What
Okay.
happens to me is not something I can control.
Yeah.
How I show up after something has happened to me is something that is a choice that I make. Happiness is nothing but making those little choices every single day. And once you're happy, You will see your decisions, your people, the way you communicate, the way you bring yourself across, your well being, people's well being around you, awareness, clarity, ownership, all they create a ripple around you.
Okay.
It's not just well being, but performance across the organization.
Okay. Okay, Mansi. I have few pointers that I have noted down while we have been discussing. These are the takeaways that I am taking it for myself, and I wanted to share it here. Real happiness is steadiness under pressure, is what we are saying. You feel the storm, but you don't become it. So you don't get into that storm and create another storm. The inner stability is what restores clarity when everything inside feels like tearing you down. So that's the point. Decision speed is an emotional skill, not just thinking skill. When leaders regulate stress and reduce inner noise, choices become faster, clearer, and less likely to be reversed. And the other point that I want to look at is one calm reset beats what you rightly said, more beats the 10 more meetings that are going to come up. Micro practices where we put a pause, breathe, name the emotion, choose the context, and so prevent spirals. That is another point. You said this, there's a spiral there, and you said this, that spiral should be reduce rework, which can be very well done when you are in calm thing, and protect leadership presence. So that's what I mean. Safety is a speed engine. When people are safe, they speak truth quickly, leaders get a better signals sooner, and decision cycles are shrink. Happiness skill is created calm and has the power to scale. Leaders can stay grounded under pressure, communicate better, handle conflict faster, build cultures, and perform without burnout. That's the point. Any final pointers that you want to say before we close the session, Mansi?
See, I will just come back to the same thing. Happiness is nothing but the little choices that we make every single day. How I show up anywhere is how I show up everywhere. This is something what I learned. And another thing is that I would have done better if I would have known better. So, know better, communicate better, and emotional regulation will automatically fall in place.
Thank you for that, Mansi. Mansi, thank you for making this real today, because we wanted to do a special episode. Today wasn't about feeling good, it was about staying the whole when life is loud and pressure is high, when everything inside you feels like tearing down, right? And still choosing the next right decision with calm power. That's the shift. You are feel strong, but you don't become the storm, is what we said. And then leaders build steadiness, decision making becomes faster, communication becomes clearer, and conflict gets resolved sooner. The teams perform without burnout. So that's the point that we want to end with. Thank you for listening, and we wish everybody today happy International Happiness Day. To start with one thing, 10-second pause is what you do for the next decision. And with that, I would like to conclude the show for today. And thank you for joining us today, Mansi ma'am.
Pleasure.